Good morning, everybody. Today we're going to do credit cards. I did do this the other day, and I wasn't real happy with the way it turned out. Felt like I kind of bounced around too much, so I took myself some notes this time, read through them so we can stay on track. Today is going to be just about what you're going to do at the end of April once you've unlocked some extra money through budget cuts or trimming, and what we're going to do to eliminate your debt so that all the money that you're paying towards that every month can now be added into what we've already freed up to further build your emergency savings and then get you investing for the next 20, 30, 40 years towards retirement. So I'm going to keep things in just small round numbers so that it makes sense, and hopefully this will work. And if you do have any questions, again, message me. But I want to pretend for a minute here that we have found, at the end of April, we have found an even $100 in our budget that we can use towards savings and paying off debt, okay? There are a lot of schools of thought on how to do this in the world of personal finance. I'm going to give you the method I like, but there are certainly others. Don't feel like you have to do it this way. I like this better, and I'll explain why. So what I want you to do, if you've got this even $100 at the end of April that going into May, you're going to have left over, what I want you to do is I want you to take half of that 50 and put it out at Ally Bank, and that starts your emergency savings. And the other 50, I want you to start using to pay off your credit card debt. Now, for the sake of argument, I'm going to pretend that you have 3 credit cards, one with a $1,000 balance, one with a $2,000, and one with a $3,000, and they all have a minimum monthly payment of $25. What I want you to do is, after you sent half of your 100 to Ally, I want you to take that extra 50 and pay it on a credit card with the smallest balance, credit card number 1. So right now in your budget, you've got 3 line items, which is 3 credit card minimum payments, all with different balances. But I want you to increase the $25 minimum on the one with $1,000 to $75. And this is one of those things that Dave Ramsey encourages. He's probably the most famous financial planner out there, but he also doesn't encourage you putting money back in cash while you're doing this, which I do. And here's why. If we get 4 or 5 months into this and you're diligently in May, June, July, August, you're putting back 50 into savings and you're paying an extra 50 toward a credit card, and something pops up out of nowhere that costs 100, 200 bucks, you already have a little bit of money now in your Ally account that can be used, as much as you probably are not going to want to, but can be used so we don't add that back to your credit card again. When financial planners tell people to put every penny towards paying down their debt, I feel like there's a psychological pinpoint in here at which if something came up and you did need to put your hands on a little bit of money and you don't have that money, your only option is to put it back on one of your credit cards, which I have learned over the years for a lot of people can be very deflating. They've seen the balance coming down, they're paying more than the minimum now, they're making progress, and then all of a sudden that balance has to go back up. Maybe not by as much as they've paid off, but regardless, it's going the wrong direction again, and it can be very frustrating. So from a psychological standpoint, I like the idea of you having some amount of money that you're setting aside now for minor emergencies. Or again, if you're trying to start living within your means, you might have birthdays coming up, anniversaries, whatever that may be. And if that money isn't sitting there, and if you haven't accounted for it in your budget and started learning to live that way, you're going to need it. The trap with credit cards is this. There are good ways to use them, and I'm going to talk about that in another segment, but the trap is that we usually use them for things that we don't have to have, but we don't earn enough money to buy. So I'm just going to use a video game console as my explanation here. If you're living paycheck to paycheck and you have credit card debt and you're not paying that off, and then you wanted the new Xbox One when it came out, or let's say PlayStation comes up to 5 soon, you certainly at this point in time do not have the money to spend on that item, but it's very tempting to just add that item to a credit card, and this is very much a want, not a need. You absolutely do not have to have it, and it's not worth buying, but you're going to do it anyway, and you've been doing this anyway because you have what looks like free money on a credit card, though it's not free. Based on your credit score, your interest rate is going to range somewhere between the high single digits up to about 30%. If it is a store credit card, like I know Macy's, Target, Dillard's, Victoria's Secret, they all offer their own store branded credit card that can only be used in that store. Those interest rates tend to be even higher. And when we get into our discussion on your credit score, store credit cards look worse on your credit score than a general one does because they can only be used for one thing, and that's junk from that store. It can't be used for an emergency appliance or a car repair or anything of that nature. It's seen by your creditors as irresponsible debt. You're literally going to buy stuff at Dillard's that you could never possibly need for an emergency. So you've got the end of April, and we have an extra $100. And so in May, you're going to send 50 to Ally, and you're going to take that first credit card with the smallest balance, and you're going to start paying $50 more to that every month. When that card is gone, your minimum payment of $25 and the $50 that we found out of your budget are now going to get rolled to the second one. So the second one also had a minimum payment of $25 a month, but it's got a $2,000 balance, not a $1,000. The $1,000 is dead. So now we've got our $25 minimum payment to that one, the $25 minimum payment from credit card one, and the $50 that you found in your budget. So now we're putting $100 a month on credit card two. And guys, this is not going to be, depending on your situation, a quick process. My first wife and I got about 20 grand in credit card debt, and it took us a little over 2 years to pay off. Some of you are going to be lucky in that you're going to have smaller balances, but you may also be unlucky in that you are a smaller income earner. Your job doesn't pay as much as somebody else's, so you're not able to put more than an extra $12, $15 a month on it. But regardless, what you have to do at this point, and I wouldn't say cut them up, because again, if something dire happens and we don't have the cash yet, we might actually have to break in and use those, but they need to not be in your wallet where they're easily accessible. And you really need an accountability partner on purchases that aren't needs, so that you can ask them and tell them, hey, I saw this item and this is what it costs, and I am thinking of purchasing it. It doesn't hurt to let that item sit at the store for another 2 or 3 days while you mull this idea over. But impulse buying is dangerous, and you tend to see it, you want it, the money's there on your credit card, I'll pay it off later. And I need you to break that cycle of buying things you don't need when you're living paycheck to paycheck. You have got to really make a hard line distinction between wants and needs at this point. And the biggest need that any of us have is to hit an age at which we can stop working and have a home paid off and a paid off car, and then be able to live comfortably. And many of us are not on that path. So this is the laying the foundation parts of this that are the most painful at the beginning, which is making all these cuts that you used to never do before. You used to go out to eat whenever you wanted to. You would go to the movies whenever you wanted. You buy whatever video game came out you wanted, shoes, clothing, whatever, and you haven't really worried about it. Now you're going to have to worry about it and go from whatever it is you were doing before to damn near nothing overnight. And it's painful, but once the credit card balances really start getting down there and you can see yourself making progress and you're building up cash in your emergency fund, I guarantee you will sleep way better at night. The number one cause of stress to Americans is financial. The number one cause of divorce in America is finances. And it's because you need money to live, but you don't have it. It's not sitting around, and you're never finding yourself in a position to get it. So that's where we have to start making these, I told you about some just extreme cuts you might have to make, where you just have to go without television for the next 2 years. Whatever shows you've been watching are done, you're out. But this point is critical, because unless we can get you out from underneath the crushing burden of your credit card debt, I really can't help you move forward into a decent savings pattern to get you where you need to be by the time you're in your early 60s to late 60s. It's just not going to work. So that's going to be your method for paying off your credit cards. You're going to start this in May along with your new budget. And if you find yourself tempted to use it, or if you find yourself in a position where you still can't find a decent amount of money out of your budget in May, you might want to reach out to me. I don't mind helping you, giving you some tough love. It's just the way it is. But that's how you're going to go about paying down your debt, and you're going to do it concurrently with putting some money in Ally. Now, I used round numbers and said you found $100. If you found $50, that means you're putting $25 back a month to save. If you found $25, you're putting $12.50 back. I don't give a shit what the number is. It's the habit that I'm trying to get you to start right now. So even if you don't have but 10, 20, 30 bucks a month, you're putting an Ally, and another 10, 20, 30 a month you're putting towards your debt, that's totally okay. At this point, it's about breaking the habit you've been living under for probably most of your life and doing something completely different, which can be very, very tough. So start that for May. And again, if you watch this and you're telling me that you're having troubles or you don't think you can do it, then let me know. We are now April 10th, so hopefully you have a shitload of receipts from 10 days worth of April, and you're starting to get a good idea of where you're spending your money and where it's going. That way, in 20 more days, when we need to walk into May and start putting this into practice, you're ready for it. So if you've been tracking your stuff, and now I've talked to you about what to do with that spare money you find starting in May, so you can begin building a small cash position and paying a little bit more to those credit cards than is the minimum. Okay, so that put us about 11 minutes. We've got a couple other credit card topics that I want to go over and how to use credit responsibly, but that'll be for another day because it'll be about as long as this one. So that's your next job. Get started. Oh, John, where's the bathrobe? It's going to be damn near 80 in Oklahoma today, so there's no bathrobe. The AC's on. The only way I could have done it was to be in here with nothing else on but that, and that's just fucking weird. So you guys get on it. We're about to hit 12 minutes. So I'll let y'all get to it. And please, again, reach out to me. If you are struggling to find cuts, if you're being lazy about keeping your receipts, I'll be your accountability partner. Reach out to me and let me know. And then plan on putting this into effect May 1. And then we're also going to talk later this week about responsible ways to use credit cards and things that you can do that really will help yourself get ahead. You all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you all here in a few. Bye-bye.